Without further ado, let's check it out. Arianne opens with d4. We have f5. Notkevich goes for the Dutch defense. We have knight to f3, knight to f6, and now c4. And here Notkevich starts to create the stonewall setup of the Dutch. We have knight to c3 and d5 now. Bishop to f4, continuing development, and now c6. And the stonewall setup has been completed. We have e3, preparing to develop the light square bishop, and bishop to e7. Also, black prepares the castle. We have h3, taking away the g4 square from black's pieces, and now knight to e4. Just landing that knight in the center of the board. It is an excellent outpost, and Arianne does the same. We have knight to e5, and here black just castles. And there is one game in the database where h4 was played, but Arianne goes for bishop to d3, and it is as of move 9 that we have a completely new game. Black continues development. b6 prepares to fianchetto the light square bishop. We have castles by Arianne and bishop to b7. And here, bishop captures on e4, asking black, what do you want to do here? How will you recapture? D captures on e4 is the safer choice. Then white develops the queen, gets the rook into the game, and the game continues. However, black tried a more aggressive approach with f captures on e4, opening up the f file for his rook, but it also gives white a bit more room to start an attack and be more aggressive. So queen to g4, already a very active square for the queen, with the threat of just queen captures on e6. So rook to f5, blocking the queen's attack to the e6 pawn, and now f3, preparing to win the pawn, and just open up the file for the rook. So e captures on f3, we have rook captures on f3, and now it's not all that easy for black to find a move. For example, if d captures on c4 seems very reasonable, you're preparing c5 to open up this diagonal, then bishop to h6 is just winning for white, as you're threatening mate, and also you're preparing to capture here. So once you defend this, bishop to f8, you just bring the knight into the game, and it's an overwhelming position. Black cannot hold this. None of black's pieces are really doing anything. If c5, opening up this diagonal doesn't really matter. Rook captures, e captures, queen captures, and you're losing the game whatever you play here. It's not extremely hard to find a move, but the most straightforward, if you capture, then you run into queen g4 check, king h8, and knight f7 mate. Or if king does not go to h8, if you block with the bishop, then it's queen to e6 check, king here, you pick off the queen, nothing to it, check here, check, and this will just be a nice swift mate. So after rook captures on f3, you don't really have the option of a slow move. You have to bring more defenders into the game. Knight to d7. Here, Notkevich says that the same idea of bishop to h6 no longer applies, because at the end of that line, for example, bishop to f8, let's say you bring a knight into the game or something, but you don't have the option of having anything like this, because the knight just grabs the knight, and if anything, it will be black who's better. So instead, after rook captures on f3, we have knight to d7, like we said, and now rook to g3, already threatening mate on g7. Bishop to f8, blocking, and now knight captures on d7, freeing the e5 square for the bishop, so you will be able to bring another piece into the attack. Queen captures and bishop to e5 check. And so the g7 square is defended 3 times, so black has some time to start developing, so he goes c5. He wants to open up this bishop's diagonal. The problem is, with this move, c captures on d5, now he has to decide how he's going to recapture. Of course, he doesn't want to capture with the bishop, so he captures with the pawn. But the problem is now the queen is undefended, and now rook to f3. And you cannot capture because you hang the queen. So rook to f7, now opening up a discovery on the queen, and also the rook is now defending the queen, but now not trading, but instead rook captures on f7, saying that if you capture my queen now, I first grab your bishop with check and only then pick up the queen, and at the end of this line I'm just up a whole piece. So instead, after rook captures on f7, queen captures on f7 was played, and now rook to f1. Arianne brings the last rook into the game, And as you can see, white's pieces are a lot more active. This bishop and rook for the moment not doing all that much. We have queen to g6, offering a trade of queens, but now queen to d7, remaneuvering the queen with an attack on the bishop on b7. Bishop to c6, attacking the queen, and the queen to c7 now. And now finally black has a moment to catch his breath. So rook to e8, preparing to kick away the queen away from the board with rook to e7. But now another excellent attacking idea, rook to f3, saying that, okay, this rook can now come to g3, and then we add even more pieces to the attack, and also you can't move the queen away from the defense of the f7 square. So here there are a lot of things you can try, but for example, rook to e7 is not one of them, because rook to e7 now runs into just rook captures on f8 with check, king captures, and bishop d6 just threatening to win more material. This is now this is going to fall, and this is going to fall. So queen e6, you have to defend the rook, just captures here, and again you have two pieces for a rook, but at any point you can just pick off that rook, and then you're just going to be up a piece. So easy game. So after rook to f3, Notkevich played b5 instead. He says, okay, I'm defending g7 several times, so it's not a problem. I want to continue pushing with b4, c4, and so on. But this only helps white, as a white, the knight is basically the only piece that's not included in the attack. So here, knight to e2. As a great person once said, the hardest move to find is with the knight back. So knight to e2, preparing to bring the knight into the game with knight f4. But black continues pushing, c4. He wants to go b4, c3, and create a pass pawn. However, knight to f4 now comes with an attack on the queen. Okay, queen h6, nothing really happening here. The e6 square is covered twice by the queen and by the rook. However, here comes knight to h5, and we reach the position from the thumbnail. Well, almost. Here, the problem is if you capture the knight with the queen captures here, now you run into rook captures on f8, and now it doesn't matter. Queen captures or rook captures or king captures, queen captures, and g7 will be made. So the knight is off limits here. You cannot capture it, so rook to e7 was played, and now we reach the position from the thumbnail where both the queen is under attack and the knight here. And now it's your move. Feel free to pause the video and finish this brilliant attacking game while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on finishing this spectacular attack. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it's not rook captures on f8 as if you were thinking about that move again, because here after king captures you don't have bishop to d6, because now queen captures on e3 comes with check. You also defend this, and after the king moves, now you move the bishop, and you no longer white no longer wins a piece here. So here nothing really happens. You've defended successfully. At some point you might try something like knight captures on g7, but black will just ignore you. Bishop g6, and you don't really have a better move other than trading here, and you just trade down into, well, not right away obviously. First we're gonna get the knight out of the way, check, king moves, and now we capture it. Captures, knight c7, b4, and so on. But it's black who's definitely better here. However, if after rook to e7 you found the immediate bishop to d6, then congratulations, you have found the truth behind the position. Point is, the game can easily be surrendered here, as if the queen is captured, then just rook captures on f8 is mate. So you have to try something else, but there is nothing else. Even if you try something like queen captures on e3 to get the rook away from f8, captures, still after bishop captures here, again, you're just up a full rook, completely unplayable. So instead, after bishop to d6, Notkevich tried one more idea, queen to e6, but now, yes, you've defended the rook, but now the problem is just bishop captures on e7, and this is what Arianne played, and it was in this position that Benjamin Arvola Notkevich resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. Point is, if you capture with the queen, you lose the bishop, so that's pretty much self-explanatory. White is just up a whole rook, and if you don't, if you capture with the bishop, well, then you run into queen b8 check, and there's no good defense. However you defend, you either get mated or you lose material. Your only defense is bishop to d8, which frees the e8 square for the queen, but still just queen captures, and after queen e8 you can just capture, and go back, and you are again up a whole rook, completely winning. So yeah, after bishop captures on e7, Notkevich resigned, and this beautiful game was created. It's just a shame that the game was not resigned after bishop to d6, just to have a greater ending position. But okay, sometimes you have to try queen e6 and then just captures, and that was it. So that's the game. Really impressive game by Arianne, who is she has in chess. She has a title of women's international master. So also enjoyed chess very much. She spoke several languages fluently, and she was studying up for her PhD in Russian foreign Russian policy. So really a lot of hobbies, a lot of interests, and it's just a shame at 33 years of age, so young, to go with a car accident. So like I said, I will put a link to Lemon's tweet in the description below. It will be the first thing you will see, so in case you want to extend your condolences. Yeah, that's the game. I do hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank Matthias Jakob, Dario Givankovic, Andrew Perry, Owen Wolf, and Alexander Afanasyev for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the Morphy saga and checking up on your wonderful suggestions. And for the end of this video, we're just gonna show this nice photo of Levon and Arianne from their wedding day for some 10 seconds, and that's it for this video. I will see you soon, guys.